Oi, you listening to this video, are you upset that Arsenal lost 2 goals to 0 against Aston Villa? What, you thought we was going to win every game from now to the end of the season and there'd be no bumps and bruises? You can't be that stupid, can you? Man up. Even the most optimistic of Arsenal fans could not have assumed that this year, or better yet, the turn of the year, would be nothing other than plain sailing. Yes, it was a disastrous end to 2023. We started 2024 well, and we've been on a positive road to success after a cloudy and rainy end to 2023. But I'm sorry, I think you're an idiot if you thought there'd be no bumps and bruises. Now, I know football is an emotional game. I know Arsenal have aroused your imagination about ending our trophy drought, but that's just not the way life pans out. The league is a marathon, not a sprint. And you've seen up until this point, which we sit in April, there's been many bumps and bruises, twists and turns for many teams, including ours. I'm not saying you should be optimistic. I'm not saying you should be positive. I'm just saying keep perspective. And for the men and women out there, pull your knickers or pants up and man the hell up. You know, we've been great this season, and one defeat. Obviously, you know, there's now the hyper opinion, sack the manager, every player is crap, this, that, and the third, and it's despicable. Football fans are funny. They will say their team and their players and their manager are too emotional or bottling it, have bottled opportunities, etc., etc. But the same things they demand from their players and their manager and everybody connected, they don't reflect within themselves. Do Arsenal fans or any football fans make the decisions that the club live or die by from a sporting perspective? No. But you can't be that silly to expect to be in a title race once again and expect there to be no bumps and bruises, twists and turns along the way and expect it to be plain sailing. Any goal or objective or dream you have in life, it just doesn't work like that, really. It's very rarely a journey goes from A to B. You need to see the other letters in the alphabet. See what I said there? And for what it's worth, I am not saying don't have your perspective. We're going to go over a lot of these things, but keep your nerves, keep your head. The past brings regret. The future brings uncertainty. There is no time like the present. And what is the alternative, people? To sit and cry and wallow in what's happened, or to try and build towards a better and more prosperous future and do better? Now, we had a record-breaking start to 2024 where we've just been demolishing sides, getting great results, and ultimately ensuring this club remains in the fight for a Premier League trophy and taking our upward trajectory. So I understand defeats to Aston Villa, what feels like a defeat in many ways in the draw against Bayern Munich at the Emirates. You're only as good as your last game, and this week, or better yet, last week, was a spanner in the works in terms of what we're trying to accomplish at this football club. Ultimately, we're dying by the high standards that Mikel Arteta and the players this season have currently set. And as we all know, the margins for error where you're fighting Manchester City, Liverpool, and all the powerhouses that are in European competition or remain in the Champions League, it gets finer and finer. And we do have that element as a football club, I believe, to shoot ourselves in the foot. I do believe there's rarely been games where we've been terrible when we've lost. And in most of them, there's been certain games where you could take potential positives. But we shot ourselves in the foot against Aston Villa, take nothing away from them, but to concede 2 goals in the dying moments, to shoot ourselves in the foot defensively against Bayern Munich. The 4 goals we conceded last week were nothing short of terrible. You add that to the way in which we drew with Fulham at the Emirates, you know, we drew with Spurs at the Emirates, we played at Chelsea away from home, not creating any chances against Newcastle. Similar fashion, kind of with that theme with the Aston Villa game at their place. And there's been many others, West Ham at the Emirates. We have shot ourselves in the foot on a number of occasions. And you do find yourself thinking, what if we did this? What if we got those points? Where would we be? We can't go back in time. We have to hold ourselves accountable by all means. You know, I do think there's sections of the Arsenal fan base. When we win, they want to blow hot smoke up these players' asses. When we lose, you know, it's whispered. And I do think our Arsenal fans, there are weirdos in that regards. I'm not speaking to you lot because you lot are very balanced. Where you want to be optimistic or positive is down to you. But I just feel there's some people that do a madness in a toxic positive sense, and misery loves company. And obviously when Arsenal lose, we trend online, engagement, viral clips, etc., etc. Keep perspective. We may not achieve what we want to achieve. By all means, I am going to personally look back to the 2 games against Fulham, for example, and many others. But this just shows this is the difference between being a good team and a great team. And right now, these players have to get back on it. And if one defeat makes them change course, regardless of how the future pans out for us, then we should pack up now. Now, I always say I don't tell you what to think, just think. Now, you can be as optimistic as you want or as negative as you want. That's your business. That's for you and the Lord to go through. For me, with Arsenal, it's a bit of a twofold. I like the trajectory. I have liked the 2 years in the sense of there's something to believe in. The words that these players and the manager and everyone connected to Arsenal for years at this club hasn't correlated on the field. And it is. We are in a positive trajectory. There's so much more that we need to do, and there's so much we've done. For me, though, I am shocked. And I know football, you know, men, women, young and old, football or sport is one of the only things in life that can bring out the most extreme negative and positive, you know, sort of emotions in everybody. So I understand it. Ultimately, as I said, Arsenal are dying and living and dying and living by the high standards we've set ourselves in the last 2 years. You know, think about how far we've come, people. Say what you want about this football club. But, you know, while I'm upset to lose to Aston Villa, to see Bayern Munich, Manchester City and Liverpool and amongst others come to the Emirates and not get a thing is something to be applauded. I won't quite go as far as to say we're the envy of world football, because that we have been one of the most team in 2024, and there's many things to envy about us. Now, that being said, though, as much as I like what we're doing and stuff, I'm not interested in competing. Obviously, context needs to be applied both internally within Arsenal and the teams we're facing. But I'm not interested in making friends. While I like the family aspect at this club, not interested in being friends, not interested in taking part. I want to win trophies. Mikel Arteta and the players talk a lot about controlling the controllables, definitely at this period of the season. And again, it's been one defeat in the Premier League in 2024. But for me, that I watch his games twice, whether we win, lose or draw, there has been certain elements that we need to improve that we've got away with. Now, against Aston Villa, that did not happen. So are we necessarily controlling the controllables? We can talk about Liverpool and City and all of these teams dropping points. We need to control the controllables and go out there and do our job, which for the large part we have. Obviously, in the weekend against Aston Villa, we didn't. And while it's our first defeat of 2024 in the Premier League, of course, it's come at the wrong time. It's come off the back of a disappointing performance against Bayern Munich. And we don't know what tests lie for us in the Premier League and also in the Champions League when we head over to Germany. It's not going to get any easier. You're playing Gary O'Neill's Wolves side at the weekend after the Bayern Munich game, in which I personally feel Gary O'Neill is one of the most underrated managers in the Premier League. He's doing great things at Wolves. No one's going to give us 3 points. Nobody cares that there's been an odd 20-odd year wait or drought without a Premier League. Nobody cares that this club doesn't have the strongest of European pedigree. All things I'm sure the players, Mikel Arteta, and definitely us fans want to address. Now, I am not saying we shouldn't have cause for concern. There shouldn't be question marks about the manager's capabilities of winning a Premier or a major trophy. And also, he has been here a long time and doing good things, but has spent a lot of money. Likewise, I'm not saying the players should be absolved from anything. And I'm not saying we should be calm for the sake of being calm or be excited for the sake of being excited. I'm just shocked with the, you know, 1 minute we're the best thing in this since sliced bread, according to some fans, and now suddenly we're crap, pack it all up and we're done. Where do we go from here? We might look back in May and say, you know what, where the Premier League is concerned, the numerous examples that I've said, and I'm sure you lot have, that's maybe where things have been lost. We might look back at the Aston Villa game and say that's where it went downhill for us. Manchester City are probably looking at it and saying this is where we do our job now. So we just need to get on with it, man. Like, crying isn't going to help us. Being cautious or, you know, being nervous about the future isn't going to help us. We just need to, like in life, when you get battered and bruised, you need to keep moving. And, you know, I do think this club does have resilience, because right now it's easy to praise the project and the players. That hasn't always necessarily been evident. We're just going to have to get back on it. Nobody cares. Work harder. And we didn't do enough against Aston Villa. I am just shocked, though, at how our fans are moving, if I'm completely honest. And again, fans, you need to get comfortable with this. If we're going to be a team that's going to be fighting for Premier Leagues and stuff, then, you know, the emotions and the dynamics are going to shift week in, week out, especially as we say and proclaim that this is the most competitive league in the world, which in many ways I think the Premier League is. On many hands, I don't think it is, because Manchester City just bullying the whole thing. Control the controllables. And I would say that would be the toughest, most positive pill to swallow, but also the toughest pill, in that it's not a thing where if the season was to end today, according to where everyone is. It's not a thing where we've given it our maximum and the other teams are just better. We've shot ourselves in the foot, whether that's how we've assembled the squad, results, and so on and so forth. I'm just saying we need to keep going. We need to hold ourselves accountable for the good and the bad and just keep going. And fans need to wind their neck in a bit and just keep it moving, really. But that's all I've got to say, man. I'm just quite shocked with all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, comment, like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, people. Peace.
Always